And once I start, I can't stop. And I've really noticed that because I was supporting a friend. So I bought cinnamon buns. What's the other thing? My son made homemade dinner rolls, butter tarts, and cookies, and on it goes. And I find as soon as I start to eat that stuff, I just want more and more of it. So last night, after I finished a delicious chocolate bar, oh yeah, because my neighbor came by fundraising for their kids' school, I thought, that is it. I feel disgusting, low energy, irritable, just gross and bloated, like so aware of the inflammation. And I thought, thank goodness Nicole and I are talking about fasting again today to give me a kick. And that's what I've been doing today. So today we talked about last week. If you didn't catch last week's episode, tune into that first, because today we're going to talk about the next level of fasting. So last week was kind of just an overview. Hey, Nicole, what is fasting? Why, how it's come so far. Once upon a time, they didn't distinguish between men and women, and we are not just little men. We are very different. So we have to fast very differently. And this week, we just want to go into sort of the next level. So beyond the typical 16-8 fasting, which means you eat your food within an 8-hour window. So let's say between noon and 8 p.m. And then you fast from 8 p.m. until noon the following day. So that's a typical 16-8 fast that people talk about. Now we want to talk about what happens if if you fast a little longer. So 17 hours and not beyond, but a little more than 17 hours. And it's something that's called autophagy. And that's a big fancy word, meaning your body is starting to do brilliant things. It's starting to clean house, cells that aren't functioning properly, dead cells. I think of it as sludge. The body's like, all right, I don't have to worry about digesting food right now. I can start cleaning house. I'm going to sweep the floor and get rid of all this junk or stuff that's not serving us. So there are so many incredible things that our body does when it doesn't have to focus on fasting. Okay. So Nicole, how did you feel, I guess, the first time that you did a longer fast like that? What were you thinking? And
Yeah, so I ended up getting the Keto Mojo, which actually is a blood glucose monitor as well as your ketone markers. So when you start to go into over 17 hours, you can actually start to monitor if your body is making ketones. And we talked about the benefits of ketones. It's another energy source that the liver is making because you have really what do you call uptaked all of your glucose in those kind of first 14 to 16 hours. So now your body's like, okay, now where is my energy source coming from? So it's called ketones. So it was really interesting when I went through my first kind of over 16 hours intentionally, right? This is intentional fasting versus like,
and,
in the days in your 20s when you used to starve yourself to get into a bikini, right? Like that was
and
not
was it hard?
intentional.
Like, were you thinking, oh my gosh, like when I first tell people about 16 hours, they're like, what? That's crazy. Until I say, you're just not eating from 8 till 12. And then they're, oh, that's no big deal because you're sleeping through most of it. But now you're going to be awake for more. So what were you thinking? Was that okay? Let's see what happens, or
Yeah, it's like almost like a mind if I can swear, because
mindset? You have to decide.
you can play with your stories in your head, right?
Yeah,
Like it's the
for sure.
chit chat, and it's like all of a sudden you're like, oh, am I going to pass out, or like all of this stuff? Because I'm an easy fainter, so probably in my head I was like worried more so of like passing out and breaking teeth and all of that stuff that's happened before. But what I was surprised at is actually how calm I felt in my body. And so I was doing kind of the fasting hacks that I've learned, which is making sure that my electrolytes are up. So having a couple electrolyte drinks, drinking enough water. So, oh, I'm hungry, drink some more water, using teas and using black coffee. And if you're feeling like you want to push that another hour, but you're feeling like you need something, some of the hacks are like adding MCT oil to your coffee, which is
Right.
fat. There are also fasting bars out there. And Melissa last week mentioned Fasting Like a Girl is an incredible book. And in the back of her book, she has a recipe for fasting balls that you can make. And they're really nut balls that you could have. And I remember with Mitra, when I went to Chicago this year, and we were going on a bus tour to the kale farms, she pulled out her, well, I think she calls them the fat bombs,
Yeah.
right? And we
Yep.
each had one, and it was probably around that, like, I don't know, 10 or 11 o'clock in the morning, and we were trying to push to get to our lunch that wasn't going to be till probably like 1 o'clock. And I was so surprised that only having one of those fat bombs were able to, they not only tasted delicious, but it got me until I actually could sit down and have a healthy, balanced meal. And so there
And
are a few hacks, right, that
and
you
I
can do.
right, and those hacks, I was shocked. And that's why I
Mhm.
recommend everyone read that book, because when I used to think about fasting, it was like no food, nothing. 1 calorie would break your fast. But then after reading that book, as you talk about those fat bombs, those don't actually break your fast. So that can really help you extend that fasting window when you need to. So
Right. I
such
think
great
it's the
info.
misunderstanding, and I think you and I both had our aha moments, Melissa, is, the whole kind of breaking your fast. It's the whole thing is staying in a place where you're making ketones.
Right. It's not about
Plain, right?
calories, right? Yeah.
It's
So
about that body
interesting, right?
function. And the more, and what we're going to teach you over the next 4 to 6 weeks with these little minis is just our experience and giving you a few things to consider so you can try it on. So autophagy fasting is on average anything over 17 hours, all the way up to about 72 hours. That's pretty advanced autophagy. But even just playing around with 17, 18, 19, even 20 hours. And
Mm,
some of the things to think about. So, an autophagy fasting would be really good for you today if you just had a big weekend like Melissa. So, I'm doing it today. I'm doing a full 24 hours. So, wish me luck. Why I do it, it's a reset. It's going to help with my brain function. It's a great gut reset. It even kind of prevents any, let's say, if you're feeling like a little run down or maybe like a cold or maybe flu bug is showing up. It's a great way to just, as Melissa explained early on, right? It's cleaning out the sludge. So any little viruses that might have come over the weekend, hanging out with too many people that might have been sick. And another thing there's research on is it helps balance your sex hormones. And for women, which we target, women in perimenopause, menopause, and postmenopause, a lot of women will do something like this, maybe even once a week.
yeah.
Important about changing up your fast. So,
It's,
anyways, yeah.
I was gonna say it's also a great way to shut those cravings down too, because it, I'm sure I'm not the only one, but once I start on that sugar train, it's like, woo, woo, let's keep going. And it, like I was noticing that yesterday. I'm like, oh my goodness, I've been taking over my cravings. Like I'm a logical person, but I'm like, I have to go have that chocolate bar. And the only way to do it is to shut it down completely. And once
Yeah.
I get that out of my system, doing a fast,
Mhm.
then I'm literally calm again and I don't have those cravings. And then really focusing on eating the proteins when I eat and the good nutrition. So, yeah, it's a good way to shut that down to stop it.
Exactly. And one of the things that I find working with women in menopause is they'll like have a weekend like you just had, and they'll step on the scale Tuesday morning and go, what the hell just happened? I've put on 4 pounds, 5 pounds, 6 pounds,
Right.
even higher.
Your pants
Now,
are tight, really tight.
pants are tight, right? So again, considering a fast like this, where, and I'm going to give you an example. I went this summer to Chicago. I had 5 days of like enjoyment, and even though I was doing some
Eating.
fasting, but eating like popcorn and having a couple cocktails that I typically don't have. And all of a sudden I got, and I think I was about 6 or 7 pounds up of inflammation. I didn't gain that much in fat, but just
Right.
inflammation, right? Our body will retain water when we start to put inflammatory foods in and puff us out. And so I think I came back, I did a full 24-hour. The next day, I was back down to my normal weight. this
Yeah.
is what I'm talking about. It flushes you out. It's a great
Amazing.
reset. So we're encouraging you, try it and always give us feedback. We want to hear from you. So we're sending this out in the email. We do live stream in our Menopause Sisterhood group. We want to hear from you and give us different ideas of what you want us to talk about, because we are a wealth of information. We're menopause experts. We've been there, done it, and we want you to win in this stage of life. That's why we're advocates. We are cheerleaders, and we want to make sure that we're bringing the best information to you so that you can really have this be your best chapter.
And we'll cheer you on too. So if you're going to do this and you're thinking, oh my God, I don't think I can do this, but I want to, or no, I should, post in our group and we will cheer you on. And when you're struggling, post in there too, and we'll cheer you on. And honestly, the time goes by so quick. And then you're like, wow, I did that. And if you don't make it as far as you wanted to the first time, that's okay. You did some. So always about progress.
Absolutely. So thanks for tuning in. And I will shout out, we are 11 days away from our live in-person Power of Menopause event at the Hilton in Markham. For those of you that are watching our video, are in the GTA area and can come out for the day, we encourage you. There are still a few tickets left. It is going to be an incredible event. The swag stuff keeps on coming in. I think well over $250 worth of free products that you're going to get. It will be more than your ticket, plus you're going to get a beautiful lunch. So if you know of a woman in the GTA area, we have people flying in from Ireland, Las Vegas, New York, different parts of the US. You can buy a ticket, you can stay overnight, you can be part of Sisterhood. We want to see you.
It's going to be so much fun and incredible learning, but just lots of laughs. And I think you'll walk away with so many resources to feel, A, you're not alone. What you're going through is a normal thing that happens to women, but the suffering is not normal. So many tools that you can implement right away to start helping yourself feel better right away and make this your best chapter yet. It's going to be so good. I can't wait in person.
Awesome.
Woo-hoo. Bye
Happy
guys. Have a great day.
fasting.